Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to tonight's version of Tuesday Preppers. This week being a Clash of Wills week, it means we're going to do one of our longer videos where we talk about all the killer units and the elemental supports and all the things that you might need to put together for a team for the upcoming Clash of Wills based on the news bulletin and the information discussed in the live stream. So we will take a look at the news and look at a list of units and talk about some team compositions that I think might maybe get you started. I'll show you the team that I'm already planning on running for a real rank, and we'll go from there. But I will go ahead and just throw out there, and if you watched my my beige carpet video on Sunday, you already know what I'm probably about to say, and that is that in general, I am not thrilled with the direction that Clash of Wills is going. I think it's really prohibitive to typical players, and I think that makes it not fun content. I think that a lot of players who already struggle to clear 99 are going to have an even harder time doing it, and I think that that is going to make this not be a successful piece of gameplay experience for this game. Now, I would love to keep an open mind. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'm hoping that this is a trial run of it, and it either goes better than we thought, or it demonstrates why this is not good for the average player. But I have some real concerns about what this is going to do to people's general ability to play this game. It's certainly going to impact the way I can pull and can play this game, because I already kind of struggle to pull one unit a month on a budget, and I certainly can't afford to do two. And I'll show you in a minute. It's already impacting team building for me personally. So let's go. We'll talk about the news and we'll get into it, and we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and hit the news here. And we know now there's really only one piece of content coming out, the one event, Clash of Wills. No real new information about Chains of Fate Mireille. We know from doing some math that if you do one single step up on the card, the new card, and then go to pity on her, you're going to spend 50,000 Lapis. If you skip the card, you can get a pity copy for 45,000 Lapis. So you kind of have to ask yourself if getting that card is worth 5,000 Lapis. You do get a lot of other goodies along the way, like VIP coins and exchange tickets and stuff like that. But you do kind of get some exchange tokens on this as well. But you do get a lot of goodies and guaranteed neos and things like that. So it may be worth it for you if you're gonna go ahead and go. The rate up units include Esther, who gets a Vertex ability that's important. Hyo and Panthera Ultimates, just a very strong unit, and then Solitary Warrior Veritas of the Frost, very strong unit, good breaker. I'm personally only one copy away from EX3 Veritas of the Frost, so if I were to pull here and get a Veritas, I'd be very happy. Also, I already have EX3 Esther and Hyo and Panthera Ultimate, so those two I don't really care so much about. I would kind of like to pull for Mireille, just because Mireille has one of two Vertex abilities in the game, and I'd like options. You guys know I like options. Having both options is good, but I don't know enough about the unit, and I want to look at her kit in under a microscope when we get that information on Thursday before I fully make up my mind. But at this point, I'm already kind of planning on I want the Vertex ability, so it's kind of where I'm leaning. Let's go ahead and pulling. I just don't know if I want to spend 45 or 50. The card is kind of meh to me personally, but there you go. No new information here. I think her STMR is great. If you get 2 or 3 copies of her, you should make 2 or 3 copies of this STMR. I think it's very, very good. But yeah, other than that, no real new information. So let's talk about Clash of Wills. They tell us no real new information other than there are some details down below, but they talk about Mania mode. They say it's available from Echelon 5. They don't describe it as a modifier that you turn on. It just seems to be cooked into Echelon 5. And then once it's activated, the boss changes, the focus abilities become available, blah blah blah, all the stuff we've already talked about in the live stream recap videos. Yeah, bonus time. You got to get a bonus score. Cool. And they say right here, Chains of Fate Mireille and Stormseeker Esther will have vertex abilities. These are the only 2 you can get. Here's a boss. Looks basically the same as he did on the live stream. And we know all this stuff already. And they say they talk about unique influences to morale. The influence to this morale is, you have to scroll down, reducing light or dark resistance for the enemy is going to increase your morale. So every opportunity you can to lower light resistance is going to fill your morale gauge faster. They also give us the full list of all the units with focus abilities. Noctis, Prompto, Ignis, Gladiolus, Ramza, Delita, Agrius, Orlando, and Argith. Get the good focus abilities, and then the not so good ones are Royal Arms. Everybody else that's in Final Fantasy 15 get the kind of like basic ones. So that's kind of where you're locked into. You got to have Esther or Mireille, and then at least one of these units to open up the focus gauge for you. That way you can deal with the new stuff and get the bonus time. Yay. There's a new action boosting light and dark resistance. Awesome. And they tell you that total morale gained is replaced by final morale value. So we know that we have to fill morale by the end of the fight to get an S rank, right? S plus. Awesome. We're going to skip past all this stuff really quick because I want to show you some concerns that I have about that. If you look at the other scoring criteria, the other scoring criteria includes just clearing the quest, doing max damage, having your effective attacks, having a max chain, final morale value right there. We already knew that because they showed it earlier, but also number of turns. So you not only have to have final morale value, and we're limited to 10 turns, and you have to have the bonus time. So all 3 of these have to be triggered in order to get a rank 1. There are some nice things about that and some not nice things about that. Like on the one hand, like if your morale is getting out of control, you can't just drag the fight out to fill morale and take your time and whittle the boss down. You have to do it within 10 turns because it says so right there. So it's weird that they're doing the final morale and the number of turns clear in the same event. Usually you do one or the other. It's just weird to me. And I think it's putting a lot of pressure on people to have to knock it out very quickly, which with the new system may make a lot of sense. We'll have to see. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit past all that, but anyway, my point is that is a concern of mine. On top of everything else, they're making it so that you have to do it quickly and deal with morale at the same time. Can't just turtle this thing. If you scroll up, we see the units that are included with the drops now. Nora and Dwayne are probably the best choices. Everybody else is just really, really old or not that valuable, or maybe even a free unit. The new abilities, Scorched Earth seems really good. HP 50%, Fire and Earth Resistance 80, and filling more MP every turn. Warrior's Bulwark does Defense and Spirit, True Double Hand, and whatever Stalwart Heart is, we shall see. They seem pretty cool. All the new gears and stuff are talked about here as well. You know, we'll see. There's some abilities here that we don't really know about as well. We want to know what Gilded Mystique and this bonus damage for LBs for certain characters. You know, we need to see what that means. But yeah, there's a Fortuna pass as usual, and there you go. So as far as that goes, that's really all there is to know about Clash of Wills. You know, we know it's a human, reaper, insect, light, dark, ice, and earth. And if you've been hanging around for a while, you know that I have lately been putting together a list of units that can do all those things. And so we'll take a look at my list right now. We put this list together on Twitch tonight. We're getting a lot of feedback and help from people. And then we're going to take that information and try and put a team together. And I'll show you a team that I'm kind of working on. So if I can find it, here it is. Here's our list. So we're going to start with killers, right? So we know it's a Reaper human insect. As far as Reaper killer supports, you could talk about bringing anybody who can wear Ihana's STMR, White Dragon Ling, White Mage Rosa, Songstress Yuna, Elegant Temptress Lilith, Stormseeker Esther has a Reaper killer buff. It's kind of small, but it's there. Grimlord Sakura Sonin Sky has a self buff. Summoner Yuna has a buff for the party. Black Mage Golbez, if you're wearing his special armor, he has a buff for the party. True King Noctis, new unit, has a self buff for Reaper Killer. Cetra Descendant Aerith, Steadfast Knight Agrius, and Princess Sarah. If you happen to have EX3, awesome. Enjoy your Reaper Killer buff on EX3 Sarah. And that's by no means an exhaustive list, but there's just not a ton of options for Reaper Killer that are that good. And these are kind of the best ones that we thought of, especially ones that might maybe also fall into other categories, and we'll see more about that in a second. Human Killer, the list is exhaustive, right? It's a huge list. 2B Neovision's Yoshikiri White Dragon Ling has Reaper and Human, kind of nice. Vermilion Class 0 Deuce, Aya Brea has self buffs, Ibarra has a party buff. Curse of Immunity Melissa, Starlight Elena, Have, Veritas of the Frost Dark Lineage, Red-Eyed Sage Soul, Lion, Dark Fina Warrior's Prayer, Axstar and Cleome, Besaid Mage Lulu, Ihana, Fina the Return, Flaring Ether Rain has a self buff, Lara Croft has a self buff, Youth from Ravenastor Vaughn, Ghost of Christmas Past Beryl has now made it onto the list. True King Noctis and Ignis, the new one, also has a Human Killer buff. They're a little, you have to scroll down to see them, they're right there. But Human, there's tons and tons of options, right? Human's kind of an easy one to work into Clash of Wills. Reaper and Insect's a little harder, especially Insect because there's so few options. Paladin Sylvie's probably the best one with her Beaten Insect buff. Roberta Ignitos, Samurai Chizuru, both those have party buffs. Ilmatal, Ihana, and Vilk has a self only. So there's not a whole lot of options for Insect Killer. But there you go. So as far as like killers, those are the units that maybe you might want to think about, especially if they also fall into element categories for elemental supports. The boss's main weakness seems to be light and dark, so we'll talk about those first. For light support, so Kiko has a field, Fina the Return has a field, Ling has imbues and amplifies and imperils, Aerith does as well, Yuna has just damage, Quistis has a field, Lion has a field, and breaks. Reagan has some breaks, the Return Reagan rather. Kuja, Deuce, A22B, and Richt all have good 150 amps for light. Vermilion Class Ace, Serge, Corral, Esper Tyvis has a leader skill, as well as good light damage. Mage Chow has a amplify field. Avon is a limited unit, but he's there. So is Kaito, as kind of a budgety option, has a light imperil field now. True King Noctis, the light version of Addison Ray, Prompto Ignis, him, Gladiolus has like secondary ice or light support, and technically Nyx has an imperil field. So by no means is that list exhaustive. There's tons and tons of light units as well. Some are better than others, but there are some that you might think about. Dark has less options, but good ones. Summoner Yuna has also an anima field. Melissa, Ibarra, Dark Fina Warrior's Prayer, Elisperis, probably gonna be pretty solid here if you've got EX3. Void Mage Roka, again, leader skill and good damage. Firstbringer Nelica has an imperil field. Dark Rain is just damage. Bulwark has AoE support. Deoxys, Gilgamesh, Lilith, Black Mage Golbez, Vlad, Renoa, Lynx, Blades of Black Flame Reagan, Red-Eyed Sage Saul, Carton, and Malphasie. So you might notice that some of those units are from other categories as well, like having Human Killer or Reaper Killer or things like that. But there you go. And then the two sub weaknesses that I talked about were Earth and Ice. Ice has a lot more options. Has a lot of options. Blades of Black Flame Reagan, Saz has an imperil or an amplify field. Ayaka has an amplify field now. Veritas of the Frost has an amplify field. Frostblade Fravia, amplified field and imperils. Eternal Radiance Elena has a bunch of ice support and damage. Bewitching Warrior Yish has a good leader skill for it, but Elena's honestly better, so yeah. Yoshikiri, Cleome, Roberta Magnetos have an amp. General Celeste, Christine, Bulwark, Kurasame, Ilmatal, Yish, Veritas of the Frost, Solitary Warrior. Again, Beryl has the ice support as well. Hyo and Panthera Ultimus has self-ice support. The new Gladiolus unit. Reagan Dark Lineage. Ignis Prompto, the new ones. Ultimate Regina, Dark Lineage lasts well. And Vermilion Class 0 Deuce. Lots of options for ice. Earth has Sylvie, most notably. Tulian Tsukiko has a good Earth Imperil field. Unknown Hero Ramza has a good leader skill and Earth damage. Agrius has Earth Imperil field and breaks. Also happens to fall under Ramza's leader skill. Denial of Focus Vanille does less damage, has bigger breaks. Neovision's Ferris has a Golem field. Hope does has an Alexander field, but does Earth stuff as well. Johannes Navlinka Ridar, all Earth focused. Graf, Avon, Yuffie, Sonnen, Napi, Bahimi. We're gonna talk about Bahimi in a second. Vilk, Diverti, Roka, both forms. Radiant Smile, Addison Ray, that's the free one, and again Barrel for Earth Amplify field and just general Earth damage. Lots of options. So by no means is that every unit available, but lots of things you might be able to use to put a team together. As far as what the boss does that you might want to prepare for, they said physical attacks that are non-elemental. So we talked about using maybe Esther, Runda, Lilith, or Bahimi, because Bahimi is both a Royal Arms unit, all right, and a physical tank. So he could potentially fill up your focus gauge. But you're probably going to want to bring Esther for other reasons, depending on what team you're running. As if you wanted to instead do a magical tank, we talked about Elena. Melissa has support for Bardarkja and Shelga. Ibarra has Bardarkja. Seymour has preemptive Bardarkja and is a magic cover tank. And Lilith has Bardarkja and Dark Absorb. So lots of ways you might be able to deal with the incoming magic damage. Kresnik has Light Absorb. So if you really wanted to, I guess you could do Kresnik Light Absorb. Right? You could do that. As far as status ailment immunity and curing and stuff, Melissa, Sylvie, Abigail, Kresnik, Ramza, King Bahimi, all options you could use. Some of those just give you buffs to resist it, and some of them help you with curing it. We mentioned already that the only units with Vertex skills are Esther and Mireille. So like Esther could serve as a tank and do your like focus or your Vertex ability to break the boss out of mania mode. Go into bonus time and kill the boss, or you could bring Mireille if you pull for the new unit, but there you go. And then the focus units are listed here as well. Now these are all the ones that they want you to bring for the big bonus, but if you just have some of these lesser options, you can take anybody from Final Fantasy 15 or Royal Arms category. And the most notable options that are also good Clash of Wills units, we chose Deity of War Tyvis, Samurai Chizuru, Flaring Ether Rain, and again, King Bahimi, just as an option. Contributors to tonight's discussion include Harvey Tudent, Tech Black Novice, Huxley, Sire Occult, Thanatos, Sketch 262, Truden Ryu, and MK Ultra was here in spirit. She said so herself. So there you go. That's kind of our list. And so I'm gonna take a screenshot of our list and put that in the comments as well, like I usually do. But let's go ahead and take a look at a team based on what we talked about that I've already kind of geared and put together. I can't get into the Clash of Wills screen right now. It's just not available. So I'm doing all my building under the long road. What that means is leader skills for my units are not as good because in Clash of Wills their leader skill is better. But if I go to party, I can see the team that I'm already kind of constructing, and we'll kind of talk about it. So I'm going to put the gear camera on so you guys can see the gear a little bit better. Where is it? Here we go. And we'll talk about these units. So on this party, Ramza is serving as our leader. So he's leading Sylvie, Esther, Beryl, and Tsukiko. And then Hyo does not really fit under the leader skill. So right away, I'm already kind of feeling the sting of the new system, right? I have to have somebody to do the focus skill to fill up the focus bar so that my unit can do their Vertex ability. So I'm choosing Ramza because he's the best leader that I have, that also kind of, I have other units that might be able to work well with him. And we're going to do an Earth Clear, hopefully. We'll see if it's going to work. But I'm already feeling it, right? So because I don't have EX3 Ramza and I don't have EX3 Beryl, then I can't bring, maybe another breaker unit that might be able to do good damage, goodish damage, like Ellis Sparris or something like that. who does a little bit of Earth Imperil, right? But also does, you know, some damage. And so because I'm having to kind of fill in the gaps, I've got things like Tsukiko here to do her Earth Field and do Earth damage. And I've got Esther doing her Vertex ability, and she's serving as our tank. You know, Sylvie doing the Imbues and the Insect Killer. Barrel's doing the Human Killer. Esther's doing the Reaper Killer. Like, we're trying to just use what we've got, and I'm just already feeling it. And I'm not like overly frustrated with it, but it was, you know, harder to put a team together, and this whole team also does not fit under Ramza's leader skill. I could make Hyo the leader skill, but then I lose like everybody, right? Then I've only got Sylvie and Esther under the leader skill, and we don't want that. I could also use Beryl. Beryl would cover everybody, but our stats are quite a bit lower. You know, with Ramza's leader skill, well, we're not in Clash of Wills yet either. With outside of Clash, Beryl's leader skill is pretty bad. With Ramza, his own leader skill, he goes up to, you know, 17.6, but with Beryl's, we're at and that's going to get bigger in Clash of Wills. We're at 15.8. You know, so all of our stats go down, but we are also led by somebody. So maybe Beryl could be an option. I don't know. At least if we did, Beryl would cover everybody. But the point is, Ramza is our like focus person. He's geared for his he's geared for all the killers and LB damage and true double hand, you know, all that stuff. But here's his gear. I'm kind of like making him our highest priority as far as our gear goes. I'm leaving avatars as avatars just in case I need the resistance buff. We'll see. Otherwise, he's just kind of geared for all the killers. Look at this, I busted out Necropolis. How fun is that? Yeah. And then he's got the Rebels Vision card. So there you go. Ramza. Sylvie, I'm not doing a counter build because the boss does zombie, and I don't want Sylvie to accidentally kill us with her. Oh, Ramza's the same in both forms, by the way. I don't want Sylvie to kill us with her counter skill, and so she is just kind of wearing some bulky stuff, morale filling stuff. Usually Sylvie's gear doesn't matter too much, so there you go. Esther, I just kind of made into a tank, and I geared her for light and dark resistance as well as evasion, and she's got 70% provoke. I don't know how much that's going to matter. She's got a provoke skill she can use. If I need to, I'll like gear her for better provoke, but there you go. Not really contributing to damage. She might contribute to some chaining in the base form. At the end of the fight, we will see. In general, though, I just geared her for resistances across the board. Resistances and evasion. So Beryl built in the base form for just kind of like auto-filling morale stuff. There you go. Wearing the Richt Vision card because I have it. And then although yeah, I think Richt's is better than the Earth card for him. Maybe. Let's see. 14273 or yeah, Richt's card is better. We'll just go ahead and fix that. There we go. And then for killers, he's got 2 photon cores, which also maxes out true double hand. He's got human, insect, reaper, LB damage. We got some chain speed. We got all this fun stuff. There you go. Tsukiko's wearing Celestite stuff, Treasure Memorial Ring to like fill morale right away on the first turn. And then just like a bunch of like passive stuff. She's got Magic Boost Plus. And then she's geared for all the stuff you would want her to be geared for, Evo and LB. And, you know, just as high magic as we can. Wearing an Earth card. There you go. She's kind of got leftover gear. And yeah, we'll see how she does. And then Hyo, I kind of built Hyo for in the base form for like countering. That way he can like try and counter dispel the boss. Maybe if he gets like hit with an AoE or something like that or whatever, he might be able to like hit the boss. We'll see. And then he also is wearing Zidane's STMR just in case we need it. I don't think we're going to because we have Sylvie on the party. So There you go, wearing his fancy pants vision card. And then just kind of geared with, you know, leftover stuff. Since he's not under the leader skill, I didn't want to lean too much into his gearing, because he's not probably the highest damage dealer since he's not under a leader skill. Maybe with Barrel's leader skill it'll be okay. I don't know, we'll see. And there you go. But he's geared for human, insect, and reaper, and LB damage, and true double hand, chain speed. You know, he's got what he needs. So there you go. I don't know if it's gonna be better to run Ramza as the leader skill, or Barrel at this point. We will have to wait and see. But that's kind of the team that I'm thinking about running initially. With Sylvie doing her like Earth Amp, for people who don't have their own, which is mainly just, you know, Tsukiko and Hyo at this point. Barrel and Ramza both have 150s, so that's kind of what I'm thinking about. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and if I can't get it to work, I'm not gonna like beat myself up over it too much, because honestly, the way this all sounds to me like is not exciting, and I think it's going to be, like I said before, really prohibitive. But I'm trying to keep my open mind about it. Like, maybe it's not going to be tuned as rough as the last few have been, and like it'll be kind of easier, even though it's more complicated, if that makes any sense. We'll have to just see what happens on Thursday. As far as polling, like I said, I'm interested in Mireille just because of what she does. She's a light unit. I intend to like light units, and she's got one of 2 vertex abilities, so that's important. And you know, maybe just wanting her just for that vertex is enough to pull. But you know, I'm also thinking about the future, and you know, if we get Neo Visions Plus, and if it's relatively soon, I don't want to be totally high and dry and have no Lapis, but I've got enough that I could pity whether I get the card that she brings or not. So I'll see, but that's kind of what I'm looking at. So hopefully that has been a helpful discussion to think about, like, units that you might be able to bring to work with and put a team together. Hopefully that's useful for you, and you can start putting a team together for yourself. And we will see how this all goes on Thursday. Until then, be good to each other, take care, and we'll see you Thursday night over on Twitch. And hopefully you have a good night. Also, if you but last thing before I go, if you disagree with what I'm saying about the scoring criteria, or the changes to Clash of Wills, or any of that stuff, if you disagree with any of that, please let me know. I'm happy to be like open for discussion about it. I have my opinions. It's all based just strictly on like how I think the game, what I think the most fun way for the game to exist is, which is accessible to the vast majority of players as opposed to just like the top players. And I think this is going to make it less available and thus less fun. So if you think I'm wrong, or if I'm missing something, you know, feel free to let me know. I can definitely take, you know, that kind of feedback and criticism and whatnot. I'm open for discussion. So if you have something to say, feel free to let me know. And with that, I'm just going to go, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Take care.